All right, it's time to get started. You're watching the Simeon Henderson Show, where we're giving a voice to the people. First of all, I got to give a shout out to the people that pay the bills. My executive producer, Jamani Anamdi, my producer, Jose Perez, that keeps this thing clicking and going right here, and my manager, Ashley Easley. Big ups to them, and all of you out there that watch the show faithfully, and you share it, and you like it, and you comment, and let us know what you want to hear. Well, today, it's going to be an awesome, awesome show. I have two young ladies that are just doing amazing things. I have Aleida on the show today. She is a proud mother. She is a soul prosperity coach, and she's just always doing something positive to let people know who they are and how they can grow and just be awesome in this world. And then I have Victoria Vann. She is doing some amazing things, and she is, and I got to tell you guys, she's a visionary. She's a leader with a passion to see people grow and do their best, and she's helping people go to school. I'm talking about college. And we know that college costs money, right? So we got a great show lined up for you today. So without further ado, let's get this show started with my first guest, Miss Aleida.
Hey, Simeon.
What's going on? So let's let it be known, you're no stranger to the show.
No.
You've been on the show before. And ladies, I want you guys to understand something. And really not just ladies, because men go through this too. Aleida's going to open up and tell you some things that she's gone through, but also how she's overcome them. And looking at you, I've known you now for at least, about 12 years maybe?
Probably about 10.
At least 10.
Yeah.
At least 10.
Yeah.
So we got a
been
dime.
in Chicago 11 years.
11.
So
Okay, so I've known you.
After. Yeah.
Yep, about 10 years. So we got a dime in the game.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I remember, and you were so young.
I was a baby back then.
You were so young.
And I was fresh in my faith too. Because when I moved to Chicago is when actually I gave my life to the Lord. It was like my first semester after moving here.
I remember. So speaking of, let's start there.
Okay.
Let's start there with your faith.
Okay.
So being a woman of God and a woman of faith and knowing who you are and whose you are and just being young, what were some of the challenges that you had to face in trying to stay true to your faith?
Yeah. So one of my biggest struggles, which I'm really passionate about talking about, is just self-esteem and confidence. Like that's something I did not have growing up. And people would be surprised. People look at me and they'd be like, oh, you're so beautiful. And I'd be like, but that's not how I saw myself on the inside. So that was really a struggle because when you deal with low self-esteem and lack of confidence, you become like a people pleaser. You're trying to meet everybody else's needs. And sometimes you end up compromising a lot. And so that's what happened to me along my journey. I end up compromising throughout my walk because of relationships.
Okay.
Because I was clinically, they would identify it as being codependent. So I would always find myself in these unhealthy, toxic relationships. And I feel like throughout the last 10 years of my walk, if I look back, the struggle has always been relationships. Wow. That's been the biggest distraction for me.
And it's so funny because I know all the guys watching, they're like, man, what you talking about? Girl, you fine. And then even the women give props. They're like, girl, you beautiful. And you light skinned. You know, they think all light skinned people cute. I'm brown skinned, so what they think about me, I don't know. But
I like chocolate.
So talking about that self-esteem, that inner man, that inner you, and we say inner man, it's
the soul.
It's inner man, and it's man or woman, you know, and because of things like that, you started the you were the founder of the Best You network, right?
Yes.
So you're talking about the Best You.
Yes.
What is that?
So the Best You actually started with a dream. God gave this to me years ago in a dream, and at first I didn't really know what it meant because I was still growing and growing in myself and my identity and my purpose. But then I started to realize what it meant, and everything is actually based around 3 John 1 and 2, which says, beloved, I wish that you be in health and prosper even as your soul prospers. Okay. And so I really want to help people prosper from the inside out.
Okay.
And become their best selves. And it's not just from a faith perspective, it's just in every area of our lives, because holistically, you know, we have our body, we have our health, we have our mental health, our spiritual health, just all of that, just becoming your best self, reaching your full potential in every area of your life. So, yeah.
So everything you're saying, it personifies who you are. When you talk about being a proud mother and a writer and a soul prosperity coach and the founder of the Best You, and not only that, you're a certified inner healing prayer minister.
Yeah.
So you everything has to do with who you are.
Yeah.
And I'm really big on that because my thing is being deeply rooted stimulates growth. And when you talk about being deeply rooted, you're talking about what's on the inside of you.
Yeah.
And when you can bring that out, that's when you can grow. That's when you can have success.
Right.
Right. So now let's backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
We know what you're doing, why you're doing it. Women need to know. Women need to know. Because there's somebody that's going through it, somebody that's went through it, someone's trying to heal from it. What is it like trying to heal and come out of an abusive relationship? We're talking about physical, mental, spiritual. Like, what is that like?
So yeah, I was in a emotionally abusive relationship, and so for me, while I was in it, I did not know. So a lot of times, women who are in it, they don't know because it's you're seeking something from the relationship. And so for me, as I mentioned before, I was codependent. So what that means is basically I wasn't complete in myself, and I was seeking a relationship to feel whole, to meet my needs. And so you would kind of end up compromising. So while I was in it, I did not know. It was actually in the end of the relationship, after my ex-husband decided to leave, when I started that intentional healing process and trying to really figure out how did I end up here. Because even after I got out of the relationship, I started to date a little bit, and I started realizing, like, I'm attracting the same people,
right?
The same type of people. And so I realized it was something within myself that was attracting this, or settling or compromising in relationships. So, it can really be, you can lose yourself. Right. You can really lose yourself. I realized the root of all of my problems was actually a lack of self-love.
Okay. And so let me ask this question, because I don't want to miss these little moments,
okay.
right?
Yeah, I'm just...
No, you're good. So because I don't want to miss these, I call them teachable moments, right? So I wanted to slow you down because we talk about a lack of self-love and things like that.
Losing yourself.
And losing yourself.
Yeah.
Now I need to ask this, because that comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? So was it something that happened with you growing up, you between your father, your dad, uncles, or your mom, like some relationship that wasn't what it should have been, or you didn't see the love or receive the love that you should have received, so you know how to be loved?
Yeah. So it's actually, I realize this is a generational thing. My mother, she was in emotionally, physically abusive relationships. And so growing up for me, I actually didn't see, she was at the point where she's like, I'm done with men. Like my mom, I'm in my 30s, 30 something years. She's like, shh, I'm done with men. So she's been alone. But even with that, my mother, because of her brokenness, and I love my mother. There's things that were passed on unknowingly because of her brokenness that she taught me indirectly, but also because of how she was raised and the things that she went through, how she treated me, that did cause me to have a lack of self-love for myself.
Right.
So that was the root of my lack of confidence, my low self-esteem, my lack of self-love. So it definitely started in my childhood.
Right.
And it's, people just sometimes don't know. Sometimes people don't even understand or know their toxicity, how they communicate, how they interact, their needs. People we as humans innately have needs. And if we sometimes seek them in unhealthy ways and not knowing, or because of your own lack of wholeness in yourself, you try to force it and control people to give you that. And so just unknowingly, how I grew up, even just in my household, there was a lot of dysfunction. My father was not there. I was actually a product of an affair. So there was a lot of brokenness growing up. And so, I remember as a child spending a lot of time alone in my room, because my siblings are much older than I am. So I grew up almost like a single or only child. And so I spent a lot of time in my room alone, just crying. If somebody would have talked to me back then, they probably would have found out. I would say that I was depressed as a child. But that's not something that, you know, especially in our community, that people openly talk about or comfortably talking about. You know, people look at going to counseling and therapy like you're crazy. Like, everybody who goes to counseling is not crazy. So, definitely for me, it rooted back into childhood, and then it led into my dating relationships when I started as a, you know, teenager dating, and which led into my marriage.